Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. Now, the adjudicating authority under the PMLA has upheld the freezing of the Money Laundering Act, which upheld the freezing of the assets worth 751.9 crore rupees of the National Herald, which was promoted by the Congress. As per the order, the Enforcement Directorate is allowed to take possession of the assets, but the final confiscation can be done once the trial court rules in favor of the prosecution. I'm going to start my conversation. This case has been going on since 2014 when a petition was filed by Subramanian Swamy, who at that point of time was a BJP member of the parliament. There have been a number of cases since then, charges that have been filed on Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, Sam Pitroda, several other of the Congress stalwarts. I'm going to take their names one by one. There's Motilal Vora, Oscar Fernandez, all who had a share in the National Herald. There are big names that at this point of time have been brought forth. But the big setback for the Congress is that funds to the tune of 317 crore rupees are going to be freezed till the time there is a final verdict comes later. So which means that the Congress will not be able to use these assets for any purposes whatsoever. Joining me on the telecast, let's quickly start off with Pooja Tripathi. Pooja, she's the Congress spokesperson. In a situation such as this, does Congress find itself in a tangle, keeping in mind that this is a quagmire that Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi keep getting sucked into as years pass by?
Megha, this doesn't, what do you say, surprise us. With elections round the corner, the way ED has been weaponized by the current dispensation, and it has not taken absolutely any action against the members of their own government.
I knew you were going to give this example and give this response. But my question is, this case has been going on for a long time now.
I'll just
10 years. 10 years.
Just go to the chronology of case. This initiated as a private complaint by Mr. Subramanian Swamy against Mrs. Gandhi, and National Herald, Qawmi Ekta and Navjeevan were running in losses since decades and decades, and it was decided to shut them down. And then in 2008, Mrs. Gandhi tried to revive it. And when you revive any company, what do? You convert their, you revive a company by converting part of their debt into equity and sell it to the people who want to gamble on the company. And that's what the route that Congress took. And then Young India was made a not-for-profit company under Section 25A of Companies Act, and not a paisa was taken by Congress party and its own members. But that didn't deter. This private complaint was initiated by Mr. Subramaniam Swamy. But this did deter Mr. Modi to unleash ED on... let me complete, Megha. So,
would you want a little bit of time? Just drink water and then come back to us. Meanwhile, coming to Savio, and obviously Congress at this point of time resisting any kind of attacks, any kind of charges that have been issued against it. Obviously, the PMLA Education Authority coming out with this verdict, a big setback. 751 crore rupees worth of assets that continue to be frozen, continue to be freezed by the authorities, by the PMLA authorities. Now, what is going to be the next step? Congress at this point of time again giving the same trite excuse, justification that it's once again a witch hunt by the Enforcement Directorate. But there have been courts, the special courts that have been hearing this case since 2014, and there has enough evidence to prove that there was a fraud that was committed, that there was a company that was founded under the garb of a publication which did nothing with regards to publishing a newspaper, but was working as a passport office. And then there were a number of shares that the Gandhis and many of their associates owned.
No, Megha, I'm not going to be surprised that the Congress will be crying wolf with regards to every case that comes up against the opposition. But what the Congress fails to understand and what the people of India need to know is that while you continue to turn your backlash as far as the ED is concerned, try to badmouth them, the ED is an investigative authority. Their job is to investigate. It is post the investigations that it goes to court, and the court decides what's the outcome of the investigations during the time of the investigation. Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi are both out on bail. They are not acquitted of the case. So the investigation continues, the case continues. But what is important to understand is that when the ED froze their assets of 751 crore, the adjudicating authority has found merit in what the ED has done. In fact, they have gone on to state that the money laundering aspect has been proven, property is proceeds of crime, and there's a criminal breach of trust and criminal breach of the properties. So primarily what has happened and what is sad is that the HAL, which was really predominantly for freedom fighters, and it had to involve the families of the freedom fighters, turned out to become an asset value proposition for the Congress, and thereby gaining in terms of asset value for them. So that is where the case is. Now, you can cry victim, and that's fine. That's what I expect you to do, right? But the truth is that at the end of the day, even if you take the Arvind Kejriwal issue, the Aam Aadmi Party Delhi liquor scam, all you will see is that when it comes to court, the court has not granted them bail. In Sonia Gandhi's and Rahul Gandhi's case, they've granted them bail, but that's not the end of the case. The case continues. ED will make a strong case. And as our law, the Indian law process continues, you will see that the end result will be as per what the investigations are all about and what the court decides on.
Okay.
So why do you cry wolf all the time?
Okay.
Actually, the idea of crying wolf is nothing, because they are really wolves in sheep clothing. And this country has seen that way back in 2014.
Yes.
That's why that was Congress Mukh Bharat, and it will continue to be Congress Mukh.
Okay, Savio, you made your point. Pooja, I'll come to you, but Advocate Vineet Jindal on this telecast as well with me. Advocate, what are the legal consequences of the assets of the Gandhis being frozen?
Look, this is a very important time for any political parties, and in respect of Congress, now the Lok Sabha election is on the way. They are going on basically. So in this kind of situation, when a judgment has been come against them, it is an appellate authority who has been passing a judgment against and freezing his property. Basically, they are saying that this property has been correctly sealed, correctly taken by the ED. So it means that there is something which is very bigger question, and investigation has been still going on. There are several things which has been look into this matter. So the way the proceedings has been going on, the appellate authority has, the Congress have chance to go and appeal about against this order which is passed by the appellate authority. But in respect of political thing, there is a very big setback. And other point is the asset which has not been released to Congress. That is also a big setback for them.
So what is the legal recourse now that the Congress has, that the Gandhis have?
Yes, they can file an appeal against this order under Section 26 of PMLA Act against the order of appellate authority to release their asset which has been attached. So they can file an appeal, but as the order has very compliances and their order has been very pronounced in a very precise manner. So let's see what would be the outcome of that appeal if they will file it.
Okay, Akhil Khan, get into the conversation. And, besides the fact that this is the election year, elections are going to happen August 19th onwards. This case has been going on since 2014, since a petition was filed in the court. Now, it has been a recurring matter that comes to for hearing in the courts. And if you take a look at the factual information, the time when 2008 National Herald shut down, it was taken over by Young Indian. Young Indian was in turn being owned by the Gandhis with a large stake in ownership of them. And then you have a number of defaults after defaults that are happening. Not to mention the rent, the large accumulated rent that National Herald, which is located in prime locality, is also garnering, which also gets accumulated into the Gandhis' accounts. we cannot at this point of time say that this is a witch hunt by the Enforcement Directorate. This is all available in records, in public records, and there has to be a problem over here. And the fact that the Gandhis have been in judicial custody, they at this point of time have been given bail, but the case carries forward, and it is carrying meat as days and months and years pass by now.
Yeah. First of all, the PMLA has no legal or quasi-legal authority on these assets. They can just give some suggestion, some direction to the ED and the court. They have no authority to do anything, any action illegally. And then this PMLA, they have taken up because you said rightly that this is the time when the election at the peak. Why they have chosen the time to create such controversy now at this time? So this is a malified intention of government, because the government is directing
case,
all
like
these
I
things.
said, in 2014, this case has been going on. 2023 as well. There was action that was taken by the Enforcement Directorate.
Yes.
So at that point of time, the Congress was crying foul, saying every single allegation, every single charge, every single evidence that has been gathered by the Enforcement Directorate is false. The same allegation of the Congress came that the Enforcement Directorate is working at the will of the government of India.
Yeah.
And now you're turning around and saying this is the election year and therefore it is the Enforcement Directorate that is being used by the government of India, by the BJP.
Why?
So now, I mean, irrespective of when there is a charge sheet filed or a case is picked up by the Enforcement Directorate, you have a ready answer.
You see, 2014, they have started, the Subramaniam Swamy case was registered in the court. So what they are doing since last 10 years, they have not started trial. Why they have not started trial? The same thing is going on with other cases like Arvind Kejriwal and then Manish Sisodiya. Why they have not started trial? Because they have no concrete evidence. They are just making superfluous allegation just to defame, just to create a euphoria, just to create a bad image of a party like Aam Aadmi Party or Congress Party. They are doing all these things. So they have very little confidence. They have, I would say there is no confidence that they are going to win this election, because they themselves is having their analysis, their poll, their internal poll, that under 200 BJP is coming. So they are doing all sorts of this, creating illegal, I would say illegal problem for others, for the other parties. So I would like to tell here that Mr. Modi ji, please come to the point and tell what you have done for the country, for the people of this country for the last 10 years. You are not doing anything. You are not telling anything. You are just creating unnecessary hue and cry for these very trivial things. You are not making efforts to say what you have done.
Deshat Nigam, quickly a response from you now. These are well, it's a fair point, as Akhil mentioned, that, you know, it's been 10 years. Why has there not been any conclusion to this case? There are just mere allegations thus far. There has not turned into a lawsuit. So obviously there are lacunae that the Enforcement Directorate has to fill. Why has it not been able to do so in such a long period of time?
Well, Megha, let me tell you, the matter is in court. The ED does not control the court. The court process is controlled by the court and the judge sitting therein. And we do, in an Indian judicial system, take a lot of time, especially in such cases where money trail has to be established, where the money is gone, witnesses and everything has to be unearthed. Can anybody deny the fact that merely by paying 50 lakh by the Young India Limited, they have been able to gather assets of 2,000 crores? Merely by paying 15 lakh, right? And in the Young India, the Gandhis have 76% of share. Therefore, now they have assets worth 76% of share of 2,000 crores, a very serious aspect that has to be gone into. And the Young India Limited, after acquiring AJL, clearly announced that the publication of newspaper was not the objective of the not-for-profit charity. It is that they have announced. So I probably answer Pooja Tripathi is not for charity issue. They themselves announced that they are not there for charity. immediately after taking AGL. So these are very serious issues. The frozen assets, the assets which was initially provisionally attached, subsequently the adjudicating authority has given its final approval to it. Yes, finally it will go after the trial is over and judgment comes whether this property will be confiscated or not. That will come afterwards. So these are very serious issues. The timeline has nothing to do with the elections. It is going on since a long time, and the court is controlling the process. And it will come, the judgment will come in due course of time. And to create an innocence out of nothing, I think ignorance is bliss. Prior to my statement, somebody was saying it was pure ignorance.
Okay, Akhil, just another 30 seconds because I have to go to other panelists as well.
You see, according to the law, you can have shares, but you cannot have ownership of the assets. So if you have share, you are not having any kind of ownership of the assets. You are telling 5,000 crore assets of National Herald AJL, you are enjoying. No, this is a wrong thing. Shareholder cannot have assets on their own because this belongs to the company only.
So the company is owned by the Gandhis.
Company. You see, they are shareholder, 38%. They are shareholders. They cannot own that assets.
The case at this point of time is black and white in terms of the allegations, in terms of the charges that have been maintained by the Enforcement Directorate. So when you have a company where the majority of the shares are owned by one individual or an individual or a family, which obviously then makes it a company that is owned by that particular family.
What they have done? They have done nothing about the assets.
When you have over 70% of the company's share, that company automatically becomes a company that is being run, but majorly being run by the particular family, which in turn at this point of time being Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi.
Company was closed because they have 90 crores of loan.
Yes, and after which it was Young Indian who took over the company.
They have revived this complete AJL, revived. And then it became a 5,000 crore company.
And where did all the funds come from? And why was it there an angle of a passport office being run out of Young Indian? So there are these lacunae, there are these questions that are being asked, there are things that are hidden in the shadows, and Enforcement Directorate at this point in time trying to find answers. 10 years long case, it is also a question. Why has it taken the Enforcement Directorate this long, which has also been an argument that has been put forth by the Aam Aadmi Party with the arrest that was made of Manish Sisodia, who has been in jail for quite some time now, along with some other Aam Aadmi Party leaders. Quickly getting Pooja into the discussion. So Pooja, how do you view this? Is the country and the countrymen convinced that it is quote unquote a witch hunt, as you say, by the Enforcement Directorate? Keeping in mind there are so many statistics, so many figures to prove otherwise by the Enforcement Directorate.
Agree. I'll come to statistics and figure. I'll continue from where I left. The ED director was given extensions, bringing in ordinances and overruling the Supreme Court judgment just to so that he takes after the National Herald case 8 amendments to PMLA to make ED into political weapon. I'm not saying on March 23rd, Supreme Court Justice Ujjwal Bhuyan said that PMLA government used to judicially use the powers of PMLA so that it doesn't become detrimental to democracy. It's hard not to miss the alacrity of the same Enforcement Directorate. We are talking of the stats and figures here. It's hard not to miss the Indian Express report came last week, which said that 20 out of 25 cases that ED was pursuing, 23 people who went on to join the BJP, the case was shut, and 3 people went scot-free. Out of 121 cases that ED is pursuing, 115 cases, 95% cases are against the opposition leader. It's not just political weaponization of ED. ED is being used as an agency. 21 companies which brought electoral bonds after raids by central agencies. 21 companies. There are 33 loss-making companies who didn't pay taxes and they paid negative taxes, but they donated somewhere amount to 500 and 600 crores worth of electoral bonds. And these are the companies who have been less than 3 years in functioning. Why doesn't ED go and take action against these companies that are giving bond money worth of thousand crores.
My question is,
Bharatiya
where
Janata
did the
Party.
751 crore worth of properties were occupied, were owned by the Gandhis? Where did these properties come from? Who were they owned by in the beginning? How was young Indian able to waive off all the loans? And yeah, the big question, I mean, it's shrouded in mystery. I would like to understand, where did these properties, where did these assets to the tune of, almost 800 crore rupees? That's a massive amount of money. So there is still no information thus far in public domain as to the properties and the acquiring of them come into being after a debt of 90 crore rupees led to the Associated Journal Limited shutting down, which was once founded by the Congress chairperson and the first Prime Minister of the country, Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, quickly getting you, Savio, into the conversation. Amidst all this math that is being played out and no real questions being answered, how does the general public look at these things? Because I'm trying to make the head and tail out of it, and I'm still difficult for me to fathom about the amount of money that at this point of time was under the control of the Gandhis and the other stakeholders. Where did it even actually come from?
Megha, the Congress can continue to cry hoarse about vendetta politics, but the country is wise enough to know the true nature of the Congress, and that is why we have seen their performance in most general elections over the last 10 years that is there, and the two general elections that happened. They're going to face a similar defeat in the current election as well. And I'll tell you why they're doing that. You see, the investigative authorities, and that's what I feel extremely sad about, because you brandish an investigative authorities just because they are not in power right now. But when they were in power, the investigative authorities then were called cage parrots by the Supreme Court, CBI to be precise. So it is considered by most political parties who are not in power to blame the investigative authorities and give them a bad name. Why do you do that? There are many good officers working in ED, CBI, RAW, IB, and they really do their work in the interest of the country. They're not slaves of political party. Please understand the process, and you want to confuse the people about the process. The process is, at an ED or a CBI level, a case gets investigated. They are allowed to take their time. Please look at the case such as the Bhopal gas tragedy. How long did that take? Where innocent people were dead. Innocent people, and the main culprit was put in the car that belonged to the one of the Congress leaders itself. Did that not happen in a long period of time? That, unfortunately, is the judicial process of India. But you have to allow the investigative authority to do its job without criticizing them or without blackmailing them or without blacklisting them because of your political reasons.
Okay.
And today, even if the Aam Aadmi Party leaders are in jail under custody, they are in there because the court has found merit. It's the same thing that's happening in this particular case as well. There is merit. That's why it's being pursued, and that's why the case is in court.
Okay.
Until the court says you are not guilty, they continue to remain under question.
Okay, Akhil, quickly coming to you, and some of the charges that were put prima facie when the case was taken up by the Patiala House Courts in New Delhi. It says a prima facie case against the accused under the sections 403, 406 and 420 of the Indian Penal Code. Amongst the many charges that have been put out over here, there is one of criminal conspiracy involving a pre-planned agreement between the accused to control public funds and assets by creating Young Indian as a special purpose vehicle for acquiring of the assets of the Associated General Limited. Not just that, it is about, the offence states that it is cheating and dishonestly inducing delivery of property with Congress Party's inducement of public contributions for commercial activities, defrauding the contributors and using party funds to their own interest. So this was in 2014. These were the charges. These were the offences under which a case was filed by the Enforcement Directorate, and the magistrate court allowed them to move with the process.
Megha, you must see in the greater context all these cases of corruption. You see, my friend asked me why opposition is making this hue and cry. This is not a hue and cry. This is a very clear indication, clear fact that BJP and this Bhrasht Janata Party is trying to create that the opposition is corrupt, whereas they are the biggest corrupt party of India in the world. You see, right now this electoral bond, clear indication, clear trial is there that BJP got money from the this Sharab mafia, the kingpin of this liquor scheme. What
so why
we are
aren't you
doing,
taking it
why
to
we should
court?
not, why opposition will
Isn't
not
not
tell
the
all these
Supreme
things
Court
about
aware
that
of it,
BJP is
Mr.
very
Khan?
much biased and they are
Why
misusing,
aren't you taking it to
enforcing
court?
dictatorship. ED is enforcing dictatorship. CBI is also enforcing dictatorship. You are doing all those kinds of work which is not connected with the public welfare. You
I
are
think
just
there-
like
I
divert
think there
because
is-
you are losing the
I think
election.
there is
You
more
are not
than
winning
meets
this
the
election.
eye.
And Modi ji is going somewhere
Modi ji is
far.
not
Hakim,
Hitler.
you have made
The
your
only
point.
Hitler
You
this
said what you
country
had
saw
to
was
say.
Indira Gandhi.
Unfortunately, time and again,
Indira Gandhi
time
was
and
the
again,
only
Pooja
political
and
leader
Akhil Khan
who
keep coming
introduced an
back to the
emergency.
same
You're
argument
not
that
doing
ED
anything
and the
about
other investigative agencies are carrying out a witch hunt, quote unquote witch hunt. Like I said, the mentioning. So here comes the part, and Deshat Nigam, the charges, the offences that have, the sections that have been imposed under the offences talking about party funds, talking about public money, is then the big question about the alleged swindling of this 751 crore rupees in properties that at this point of time find frozen with the Enforcement Directorate.
Well, Megha, in fact, the charges are very serious. It is the cheating which is there, for which there are serious punitive, consequences, and also breach of trust. The trust of the party fund, the public fund being misused for the purposes of acquiring certain assets, and thereby only paying 50 lakh and acquiring assets worth 2,000 crores. And then the 76% of the shareholding is with Gandhi's. Suppose the company is sold tomorrow. Suppose, say, it is sold for, say, 2,000 crores. Who will get the money? The shareholders. Please remember, the shareholders will get the money, and they will get in the proportion of their shareholding, which means 76% of that 2,000 crore will go to the Gandhis. Please understand that this is how the system works. And these are very serious charges, and I'm sure the law will take its own course. And please remember, the conviction rate of the ED out of 25, or I think 26 cases, 25 convictions have taken place. And conviction rate only comes after conviction, not before conviction. Please understand that. So therefore, the ED rate is very good. And I'm sure this also will see the light of the day. It is taking a lot of time, no doubt, but the process is controlled by the court, and the courts decide how to go about it. There are huge number of documents.
No, but on that note, I would also like to put in that, amongst the number of criminal charges, money laundering charges, corruption charges against the politicians in our country, there are not even a handful of these leaders who have been put behind bars. I am talking about the 2G scam, Commonwealth, Bofors scam. None of these politicians have been put behind bars. None of these politicians have been pulled up for the criminal acts that they committed. And that's unfortunate for a country which is a democracy, where the rights of the people's hard-earned money is utilized to fill in the coffers of the leaders who claim to run the country and who claim to work for the goodwill and welfare of the nation.
Megha, you missed about electoral bond. You missed about this. Is the most important aspect right now. They are not concerned.
At that point of time, I'll quickly wrap up the discussion. And on that note, I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. Thanks for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.